Let's do a little warm-up before we dive into today's topic. So velocity and position of the moon and the velocity change in direction. The position and velocity of the moon are shown at 2 times, about 7 days apart. How do we know it's 7 days apart? Because it takes about 28 days for the moon to go around once. All right, it's kind of coincidence, right? 7 days, that's weird, but that's the week. There are 4 phases of the moon. There are 28 days in 1 month, so a quarter of them would be about 7. Anyway, some astronomy is not really that important for us right now, but find the direction of the change in velocity in this time. If the change in velocity is 0, state that explicitly, and then state your reasoning. So we want to find, as much as we can, delta V, which is going to be V2 minus V1, which is V2 plus minus V1. So we take V2 and we add to it the negative of V1, which is something like this. Right? But now that's in the wrong place, so we'll want to tip the tail it over to the other place, over to here. Let's get rid of the first guy. And so now it's in tip to tail formulation, so delta V points this way. Is there anything really deep about that? Well, think about distributing that about halfway through, right? And we'd see, hey, delta V points suspiciously towards the center, and you know what's coming next. Circular motion. Not all motion is linear. In fact, almost none of it is. An important case of curved motion is circular motion, which is motion wherein the object travels around a circle. We're not that subtle when we name things in physics. We'll talk about circular motion at constant speed. That is, the radius drawn from the center of to the object sweeps out the same angle in a fixed amount of time, say 90 degrees every 20 seconds or something like that. So we have an object which is going around a circle, and the idea is if I draw the radius here and I wait some amount of time, or I draw the radius here and I wait the same amount of time, that I sweep out the same angle. That's what we're talking about. And over here, this chart says is the difference between constant speed and non-constant speed, where in this case we have an acceleration of the angle, and we'll talk about those later in the class, but not now. Really quick before we move on, is constant speed circular motion accelerated or non-accelerated? Think about it. Start the video when you have an answer. Even moving at constant speed, things moving in a circle are always continuously accelerated. Why? Because their velocity is always changing. It's always tangent to the circle. So at different times, it points in different directions, and acceleration is the rate of change of the velocity, not the rate of change of the speed. So constant speed circular motion is accelerated motion, because the velocity is always tangent to the trajectory, meaning the velocity changes direction even when the speed is constant. And so over here we kind of illustrate, sort of quickly, what happens if we look at this, and the idea that's been maybe not drawn very well here is if we were to take the radius to the center, they have divided up this angle in half. I've taken 2 points that are separated. I'm going to ask about the acceleration, the average acceleration between those two. And we can see that the average acceleration is sort of the delta, which we've done with the moon thing. And so on average, it points directly downward. And if I were to then take the delta t and shrink it so the thetas were always equal but smaller, we would see that we'd always have it pointing directly towards the center of the circle, so that in the limit of the case where the delta t's are infinitely small, the acceleration must point towards the center of the circle. Right? The acceleration always points radially inward, and we could show, and this is not a very interesting derivation, but I could probably write it up if people are interested, we could show that the acceleration would have to have magnitude of v0 squared over r. We'll come back. This is one of those results that are of significance and you'll use a lot, but unfortunately the proof of it is just not particularly illustrating. This sort of motion is called centripetal acceleration, which comes from Latin for the so-called center-seeking acceleration. The motion is trying to find the center of the circle in a very anthropomized way. But be careful, because you also sometimes hear about centrifugal motion. Here the fugal is the same root as fugitive, meaning fleeing or avoiding. And so we have center-fleeing motion, and we'll talk about the distinction later, more when we talk about dynamics than kinematics. You might wonder how we can measure a linear speed v0 for an object that never travels in a line. And so we define v0 based on the fact that the radius and time it takes is known, so that we go around the circle, which is a distance of 2 pi r, one circumference, and it takes a time t, which is the period, and so v0 is 2 pi r over t. That is, we sort of take the circumference and pretend that it's linear. There are good reasons that this should work. This was not a great argument for them, but there are reasons when we get into the sort of minutia, and when we do rotational stuff, we'll probably talk about this again and try and pull this out as to why we would do this and why this makes sense here. Alternately, we could also measure the speed of the object if we were to remove the force that's moving in a circle. In that case, of course, it will travel with a constant velocity, and the speed is just the magnitude of that velocity. That turns out to be the same as this one, which is why we use it. All right, a car travels clockwise at a constant speed around an oval track. In the table below, indicate the direction of the velocity and acceleration of the car for the labeled points. Use the direction labels in the rosette at the far right, and also use J for no direction, K for into the page, L for out of the page, or M if none of those are correct. So we'll do the velocities first because they're relatively easy. It travels clockwise, meaning in this sort of direction, and the velocity is always tangent to the path it's on. Tangent to the path it's on here is clearly direction C. And then here is direction D. And then here is direction E. So these are all so far relatively easy. Moving this way is direction G. Moving this way is direction H. And moving that way is direction A. So those are pretty easy. For the others, we have to come back to the very important caveat, constant speed around the track. So for moment R, the object is traveling at constant speed along a line. It has no acceleration, which I guess technically means J, direction J. We immediately see also that U will have no acceleration, which is direction J. For the others, it's traveling around a circle at constant speed, so the acceleration should point towards the center of the circle at that moment. So for instance, for S, the acceleration would point inward like that. That seems to be direction F. For T, it points inward like that. That seems to be direction G. For V, it will head towards the center of this circle. That's the acceleration. That seems to be direction B. And for W, it seems to be inward like that. So that's direction C. So we get these. And that pretty much wraps our discussion of kinematics. We'll come back and revisit some of these things when we do dynamics, and we talk about the forces that produce these accelerations. And really throughout the class, we'll use this because ultimately, at the root of it, physics is about measuring positions. That even when we talk about like electric current, we're going to talk about the position of detectors. And so when we're talking about motion of particles in fields, we're still going to fall back on these concepts. But we've basically hit all the really important ones. And now we'll just use them as a substrate as we do further things in physics.